I think, mostly cheers. It was loud and it was very enthusiastic.
Mr. President, ESPN commentator Stephen A. Smith, who was talking about running for president, said he would blame you if the Knicks lost the game. How do you respond to that?
I think he's a nice guy, but you need a certain aptitude to run for president. You need a high IQ. I'm not sure that Stephen has that. I don't think he does, actually.
What's up, family? Trump just called Stephen A. Smith low IQ on camera live, and you guys just seen the clip. Stephen A. blamed Trump for the Knicks losing. As you guys see on the screen, as you may know, the game took place June 8th, which was Monday. During the recording of this video right now, it is June 9th, a Tuesday. But security was tightened, because out of respect for our president, also the multiple assassination attempts. At the end of the day, you have to also realize that he is a man with a family, a wife, etc., etc. So it's only right that that take place during Game 3, but also to mention that the Knicks lost. All right. So I wanted to get that out the way. And we're going to break this down, look at the different perspectives, and then I'll give my thoughts. And I'm going to break all of this down in plain English, real talk. So hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Now, here's where it gets interesting, right? Because Game 3 of the NBA Finals, which was June 8th, 2026, Madison Square Garden, the Knicks are up 2-0 against the Spurs. The city is electric. Stephen A. Smith goes on national TV and claims if the Knicks lose, and which I just showed you guys on the screen, they did lose for Game 3, he's blaming the president. Don't take my word for it, family. I want you guys to hear for yourself. So I want you guys to take a look at the clip.
He's coming to Game 3 of the Finals, and I don't want him there. He's coming to Game 4 of the NBA Finals, and I don't want him there. And it has nothing to do with politics, policy, or anything like that. It has everything to do with him disrupting and contributing at the same time to the chaos that's going to be existing at Madison Square Garden. If there was ever a time, if it were Barack Obama coming to the Garden, I would say stay home, stay at the White House. If it was George W. or Clinton or somebody, stay at the White House. Don't come. You don't understand.
Since when Trump be at Knicks games? Now all of a sudden we're winning. He want to be here.
Flashback.
Donald Trump, who is a big Knicks fan and who joins us now. Donald, I know you're a Knicks fan, so are you disappointed that Kobe's not here, or are you glad he's not here because it ups your chances?
Well, I guess you could look at it both ways, but I'd like to see Kobe play. I came here to see my man Kobe.
Defense, too, because the Pacers were held scoreless in the last 2 minutes and 41 seconds after they had...
The number one reason to vote brought the Knicks back.
Shaquille O'Neal's shoe.
Oh, my God.
Right here, which is a serious shoe.
Is that a real shoe?
That's a real shoe. He took it off after a game and handed it to me.
Oh, my God.
I carried it like this.
Yeah, I guess. Because you don't really like germs anyway, do you?
No. Yeah, from Shaq.
How are you?
Our guest celebrity cameraman, Donald Trump. Don, welcome to the telecast.
How you doing, folks?
Fine, thank you. We must be paying our cameraman a pretty penny.
You're paying a lot of money. It's a great job.
Thanks for being with us, Don.
Thank you.
One thing about Donald Trump, man, he's a marketing genius. But not to get off topic, right? There you have it. Now, let's be real for a second. Stephen A. Smith is a grown man, a professional sports analyst, getting paid millions to talk about basketball. And he's sitting there blaming a fan in the stands for whether a team wins or loses. Now, and I get it. It can be humor or whatever the case may be. But it doesn't add up. It makes zero sense. And since when does somebody sitting in the crowd change jump shots, rebounding, or defense? Think about it like this. If you're playing pickup basketball at the park and you miss a layup, you don't turn around and blame the guy watching on the bench. You blame your own 2 left feet. The Knicks didn't lose because of bad mojo or because somebody showed up to watch. ESPN pays Stephen A. to analyze actual basketball, not to blame spectators for missed free throws, if you want to be technical. But I'm not telling you what to think. But from my perspective, that is one of the most ridiculous takes I've heard in a long time. Stephen A. likes to pretend he's independent, he's in the middle, he's fair-minded. But moments like this show you exactly where he stands. And where he stands is against Trump. No matter what the facts are, it comes off like. And this is where they messed up because Stephen A. opened the door. Trump walked right through it. And the Knicks lost Game 3. 115 to 111. The Spurs came back from down 2 games to none and silenced Madison Square Garden. And Victor Wembanyama put on a show. Now, and after the game, Trump gets asked about Stephen A. comments, as I played in the first clip, and his response was exactly what you expect. President Trump didn't hold back. He called Stephen A. Smith low IQ and insisted he doesn't have the aptitude to run for president. Now, to be fair, Trump had previously called Stephen A. smart guy who should run for office, so the flip fits the pattern. But here's the thing. If you come at Trump, he comes back harder and he doesn't wait. And that's just how he operates. So Stephen A. fired back the next morning on First Take, absolutely laying into Trump, challenging him to a debate, talking about how he'd been trying to book the president for over a year and Trump keeps running away. And he even claimed that Trump has been ducking him for months. The Daily Beast and Yahoo Sports both covered it. But from my perspective, this is all theater, right? Stephen A. already told Sean Hannity back in March of 2026 that he wasn't running for president in 2028. He backed away from it, citing his media contracts and claiming he preferred being a hellraiser outside of politics, right? Now, family, I know I mentioned Sean Hannity, but this is Stephen A. on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart saying the part where he'd rather be a hellraiser. And then I'll show you the next clip with Sean Hannity and him basically saying he's not giving up his money to run for president in 2028. And then I'll show you a third clip where Stephen A. basically blamed President Trump if the Knicks lose, and which we know, in conclusion, they lost Game 3.
People think I'm interested in being an elected official. I have no desire to be that. I'd have to give up a lot of money to do that, first of all. I don't want to do that.
I don't know if you know that, but the rules have changed. You don't.
A lot of my money.
Not only that.
A lot of my money. See, I earn my money.
Stephen A. meme coin would be rolling billions of dollars.
But check this out.
If you were the president of the United States.
I feel you on that. But the way I look at it is that the money that I have earned working my ass off all of these years, now I would have to curry favor, which means I would be owned, and I ain't having that. So I'm not interested in that at all. But having said that, like I consider you to be and various others, I want to be a major player in terms of a voice and a conduit for change. I want to make sure that people know that the BS has got to stop.
A facilitator.
Oh, yeah, I don't mind doing that. I don't mind doing that at all. You want to be a hellraiser. You want to make sure you make people uncomfortable.
Here's my big question.
Yeah.
2028's coming pretty quick.
Yeah.
If you had to pick, I think it's all bullshit. I don't think you're running. Am I right?
I don't think I'm running either because I got to give up my money.
You don't. Yeah, you want to.
I ain't giving up my money.
You want a plane,
Sean? I ain't giving my money.
I got it.
I can tell you right now. Let me put the presidential aspirations
it's over.
To bed. From if I have to give up my money, it's not happening. Anything that disrupts it. If it causes the New York Knicks to lose tonight, I'm blaming him. I'm blaming the president of the United States. I'm going to stay on that. And damn it, I hope the GOP lose votes because of it if we lose tonight. I'm going to be against them. All of them. I'm telling you that right now. We better not lose tonight's game. We better not lose tonight's game. You understand what I'm saying? I've been fair-minded, down the middle, as an independent for a long time. Hell hath no fury like Stephen A. scorned if the New York Knicks lose tonight. I'm going to be in their ass like back pockets, like white on rice. I'm telling you that right now. We better not lose tonight's game. We were riding, we were flowing, and this man gonna sit up there and show up to the Garden tonight. I mean, you gotta be kidding me. You got people gotta show up 4 or 5 hours before the damn game.
That's what he's mad about.
No. I'm mad about the watch parties.
You may have to take the subway.
Right?
In your suit.
That's not.
You and Tom Ford might be on the subway.
I'm a man of the people.
By the way, Bill Clinton went to see Michael Jordan multiple times in person in Washington.
Right. I'm saying. Hold on, whoa. First of all, that's Washington. That's Washington. Is right down the road. Number two. Don't bring up Bill Clinton coming to see the Wizards because we know the Wizards ain't sniffed the finals.
I didn't say he would see the Wizards. I said he would see Jordan.
Oh, Jordan. Okay. Well, I'm just saying they ain't sniffed the finals.
I'm teasing.
All right.
Come on.
I'm not sure it's going to be a good reception for him, but why does Donald Trump always have to ruin a good thing? Like literally, the Knicks haven't been in the NBA Finals for 27 years. The city is trying to celebrate this. We've embraced this team, and this guy has to inject himself. I mean, come on, seriously, give us a break. Why doesn't this guy just focus on trying to improve the quality of life of the American people? Because the Trump economy has been a disaster.
We know Donald Trump does not have a lot of luck in New York courts. And so we are asking him, as Knicks fans, stay away from Game 3. Don't jinx the run. You will not be welcome. No one will want you there. We will have to wait in line forever just to get in so you can have your little glory moment. Please stay away. Don't jinx the Knicks.
A small minority of people want to take advantage of their position and their ability to absorb resources that, I mean, I'm sure if I was him, it would be fun, but the fact of the matter is it's not about the 1%, it's about the rest of us.
This is our team. We're from New York, born and raised, and to see the Knicks finally doing well, and now we can't even come downtown to see them play because Trump is coming, like, that's so unfortunate. And it's displacing so many people. Like, watch parties are already packed. So it's like they're going to have to find somewhere else to go. And those are already packed too. So it's like you're displacing so many people.
I understand because of the president, but I do think that the president coming to the game is bad luck. And I would rather he forego and not come. He hasn't talked about the Knicks the whole playoffs.
What are your thoughts on Trump maybe coming to one of the NBA Finals games next week?
Hopefully he doesn't. New York's been suffering long enough without a championship. He can stay out and we can maybe get through this one without any bad luck.
Honestly, that gets me very excited. I think that President Trump attending one of the games is huge for New York and the United States as a whole. Let's go Trump.
Yeah, so I just feel like right now, like you can see behind us, like the energy's just really happy, lively. New York is alive, like energy's really up there. And I just feel like if he comes, it's going to be really strange. Like it's going to be a big downer. Like New York is filled with such diversity and a lot of the stuff that he doesn't stand for is here. So why is he coming here?
How do you feel about Trump attending the game? Fuck Trump! What the?
All right, family. So you guys seen it, right? I showed you in a sequence. I showed you Stephen A. Smith saying he'd rather be a Hellraiser on the Daily Show with Jon Stewart. I showed you him talking to Sean Hannity saying he's not going to give up his money, which is why he's not having aspirations to run for president in 2028. And then I showed you him basically saying that, you know, if the Knicks lose, it's Trump's fault, which end they lost, right? So now I want to show you guys Stephen A. Smith responding to Donald Trump, basically saying he's low IQ. And then I'll give you my thoughts, and then we go on and on and on, and et cetera. And I want to get you guys' thoughts in the comments below.
You want to talk about IQ? I could say I put my IQ up against yours any day of the week. I could go one better. I could ask you why you've been running from me the last year since I wanted to talk to you. I could ask you to debate me. Since you think you that dude, okay? We can go a myriad of ways with all of this, but I'm not gonna let you off the hook because none of that is important. I do appreciate the fact that you called me a nice guy because don't tell anybody, but I actually am a very nice guy until you tug at me a little bit. And then after that, I gotta show my other side. And my other side came out last night when I recognized that businesses that are accustomed to being patronized were compromised by you because you showed up. The crowd that surrounded the Madison Square Garden and its surrounding areas, you compromised. I thought you were about the economy. I thought you were about helping New Yorkers because you love New York. I thought you were about making money for people. What happened to the parking garages? How much money did they make?
I want to stop right there because he's spewing ignorance already, because he's saying he thought he was there to help New York. Well, there's a separation of powers, and the person you should be holding accountable is Kathy Hochul, which is the governor of New York, let alone the mayor, Zohran Mamdani, who is basically a socialist, who's a democratic socialist. He confessed proudly, and he's opening up a government store and continue to take American taxpayer money, and then sat there with a billionaire, let alone wealthy individuals he's running businesses out of and construction jobs, et cetera, because he wants to tax his way to tax big corporations as a way to funnel money to give it to others, because he has the belief, which socialists believe, if you make too much money, you have to help someone else be able to live in New York. So you have to take your hard-earned money and spread it out to those because you're equal just like the rest. But at the end of the day, if individuals decide not to work hard, why are you taking someone else's money and hard work, and how much sweat, blood, and tears they put in to succeed just to pay the price for someone to live somewhere they can't afford, like New York. So that's the ignorance I want to put out there that he's trying to obviously put on Donald Trump. But obviously, the governor and the mayor has to want to work with the president to obviously legislate their states to get what their citizens need. So who is it really to blame? President Trump or the local legislators who basically really shape the way you live in the state? And I like to call the governors mini presidents of the state, because how many times have we seen a back and forth, and I'm just being objective here, Stephen A. Smith, of how governors are enabling fraud in a way of not handing over their numbers when it comes to welfare fraud, with, like, for example, in Minnesota and so many blue states, governor wise, fighting against ICE for those who come in the country illegally, let alone won't give their numbers in regards to making sure the welfare system actually go to those who need it and not individuals who are in the country illegally. So how would Trump affect New York if it's the local legislators that's fighting the president? But then you're blaming the president for the legislation in the state of New York? It just makes no sense. Wasn't Zohran Mudami basically advertising, taxing big corporations and the wealthy? Ken Griffin, who owns the Miami Dolphins, saying he doesn't live there, when actually he destroyed an opportunity where Ken Griffin was using that space to expand, which would then add construction jobs and making it the big corporations to actually employ individuals in New York to obviously have a way and opportunity to work for a business where they can actually pave their way to take care of their families and do the things that they need to do. So who's actually hurting the economy when it comes to New York? Right? Because if that's the case, why are individuals fleeing New York and going to Florida? So I'm just pointing out the contradiction here, and I'm being very factual here because it's the truth. And you can look all this up. That's why I like showing receipts. But the simple fact is, he believes in taxing the rich. And the only way socialists, when it comes to socialist agendas, is they find a way through chaos, not to find a solution, but to find a way to tax the citizens more. And they put it in the name of taxing the wealthy, but really it's going to trickle down to taxing the regular civilian who can't flee and leave. See, the wealthy can move their money. They can get up and leave when they want. But as far as fellow New Yorkers that live in New York trying to make a way, and they may not have that much money to up and leave, that's who it hurts at the end of the day. So it trickles down. It's a trickle down effect where really tax really goes to the individuals that you call yourself supporting as a way of robbing from the wealthy, which creates jobs for the working class, but you're really taking away from the working class and their opportunities. So I just wanted to put that out there because I can't stand lying or misleading information, or at least tell the truth when it comes to separation of powers, right? Let that be there.
What happened to the local restaurants in the immediate vicinity of Madison Square Garden? How much money did they make? We know you've made a lot of money. We know you keep making money. But have the New York Knicks benefited? The answer to that would happen to be no. This is a sports show, so I won't go any further than that other than to say Brunson played better when you weren't there. Mikal Bridges played better when you weren't there, Josh. Karl Anthony Towns played better when you weren't there.
All right, we're going to leave it there, right? Why is Stephen A. acting like Trump's comments about his presidential ambitions even matters to him? If this guy is not even this man is not even running for president in 2028. I showed you the receipts. It doesn't. What actually matters is that a sitting president and a sports commentator are trading insults on national TV, and the media is eating it up because it gets clicks and shares. And that's the real game being played here, family, not basketball, ratings and attention. And Business Insider and others have documented Trump's history of calling public figures low IQ, from Taylor Swift to Snoop Dogg to politicians and athletes. So this isn't new. It's just his playbook, right? When he feels attacked, he questions your intelligence. It's what he does. Now, before we get too deep into the back and forth, let's remember something important. Donald Trump was born in Queens, New York City. He built his empire in Manhattan. His name was literally part of the New York skyline for decades. And he's been a Knicks fan for years, as I showed you guys in the clip. right? That was years ago when Patrick Ewing was playing. I showed you a clip of, and he's still the same New York basketball fan. Now, to be fair, I understand the security concerns. ABC News reported there was a massive lockdown perimeter around Madison Square Garden, road closures, heavy police presence. That is a real, maybe inconvenient for people who work and live near the arena. I feel for them. But either way, it would still have to be protected for individuals who are enjoying the game inside the arena as well. With so many things going on and with, the attacks, the history of attacks when it comes to New York, like the Twin Towers. My heart goes out to that family. But let's be real here. Security was going to be needed to be amped up regardless. It's New York. But here's what this actually looks like in real life. It's Madison Square Garden in New York City for the NBA Finals. The Knicks hadn't been to the final in 20 years. We have team takeovers nowadays. That's another reason to amp up police across the country, right? But 27 years, the Knicks haven't been to the NBA Finals. That's almost 3 decades of bad basketball, traded picks, and broken dreams. Security was going to be intense no matter who showed up. Presidents have attended high-profile sporting events forever, and it's been the same way out of respect for the position in the most powerful position on the land. So it's almost an American tradition at this point, like hot dogs in the 7th inning stretch. Barack Obama went to NBA games. George W. Bush went to basketball games. Bill Clinton went to see Michael Jordan and the Wizards. Ronald Reagan did it too. This is an American tradition, not a Trump invention. So I'm wondering why people are acting like this is the first time a president ever sat courtside. It isn't. We've seen this movie before, and it was never this big of a deal. And this is where it doesn't add up for a lot of people. Now, let's look at who was actually crying about Trump attending, right? Because you've seen the street interviews that I showed you a clip of, and followed up after I showed you Stephen A. saying that if the Knicks loses because of Trump fault, some of the folks were upset. New York City voted heavily against Trump. I get it. A lot of people don't like him. That's real. I acknowledge that. But think about it like this. Some of these same people are saying he's bad luck. He's a jinx. You heard it. He's disrupting the mojo. It's good energy in New York. He would throw off the energy. That's not a political argument. That's just bad luck talk. It's the kind of thing you hear from kids on the playground, not grown adults on national TV. Then you have the displacement argument. People saying watch parties were canceled. Fans had to show up 4 or 5 hours early. Subway lines were crazy. But again, this is the NBA Finals at Madison Square Garden in New York City. The Knicks are in the finals for the first time since 1973. Of course, traffic is a nightmare. Of course, security is tight. Of course, people are packed in lines like sardines. You try fitting thousands of hype fans into one building in Midtown Manhattan and see how smooth it goes. That happens regardless of who's in the building. You can't blame one man for Manhattan traffic during the NBA Finals. That's absurd. The real fear, from my perspective, isn't about logistics or jinx. The real fear is what happens if the crowd at Madison Square Garden cheers for Donald Trump, right? Because if that happens on national TV, it blows up the narrative that he's universally hated in his hometown. And a lot of people I know may be in the comments say, oh, he did get booed. Well, you have to also take into consideration, remember BBC when Trump did the whole speech in January 6th? BBC apologized, remember? And Trump sued, from my understanding, because they edited Trump's speech to make it like he was inciting violence on January 6th, right? When you look at that, right? And this is just food for thought. I'm not saying it happened. But I know individuals are going to say, oh, well, he did get booed, right? He did get booed on national TV like this. So as you guys see, it says from CBS News, President Trump was booed loudly, right? But then you hear this on Fox News. So at the end of the day, I'm just saying, allegedly, I don't know if it's true or not, but it makes you question. I showed you BBC basically edited Trump's speech to make things he said as if he said them, but he didn't say them, which is why Trump has a lawsuit against BBC, or BBC, not BBC, BBC, the network I showed you, this network. And then Trump has a 94% negative rate when it comes to coverage, right? So a 94% negative rate in TV coverage. So this is a man who has 92 to 94, sometimes 95% negative coverage of bad press all over social media. And then you had BBC cover him negatively as if he was inciting violence during January 6th. So I say all that to say, if they say, and if CBS are saying that Trump was booed, doesn't it make it suspicious that they may have edited to where he was being booed but actually wasn't on national TV? Just putting it out there, family, food for thought. You make of what you think of it. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm just putting that out there, right? But that's why the crying started before he even walked through the door, right? Because the narrative of Trump being universally hated in his hometown, and that's a narrative a lot of people have invested a lot of money in and time in building. And that's why, like I said, boohoo, whine, and crying. Now, let's talk about ticket prices. And before I talk about ticket prices, because this really had people twisted, I want you guys to see what our President Trump had to say about that.
For the game 3 you're going to is $8,000. Everyday Americans can't afford these sports.
Well, I know, but they can watch it on television. It's sort of semi-free to watch it on television, but that's the way life goes. You have some, and now if the game wasn't if the team wasn't a big success, you could go very easily. So, you can do that too, but that's the way life is. They've had great success. And don't forget, they've suffered also losses, and they've suffered during the bad time. Now they have a good time. They have a team that's amazing. I don't think they've lost a playoff game.
It's been 27 years since the New York Knicks hosted the NBA Finals in Madison Square Garden. Instead of the Knicks organization taking care of their fans, they're giving them the biggest middle finger imaginable. I find New York Knicks fans to be some of the most insufferable, cocky fans on planet Earth for a team that hadn't accomplished anything since 1973. Even I feel sorry for them in this moment. We're talking about the lowest ticket prices for the upper bowl being in the high 8,000s to go watch your New York Knicks, who you've been waiting for this moment your entire lifetime. And to make matters worse, the real Knicks fans who could never really afford to get in the Garden anyway just had their plans stymied. Just because President Trump is showing up tonight at Game 3 means there's no watch parties outside of the Garden. I couldn't imagine rooting for this team and watching bad basketball for decades, only to get to this point and have the organization that you've been rooting for turn its...
There you have it, right? So the ticket prices. Cheapest seat in the building was going for $8,000 for the upper bowl. Somebody asked Trump about it, and his answer sent a lot of liberals into a spiral, right? That was his answer. President Trump gave a basic answer about supply and demand, about how life goes, and people ran with it like he committed a crime. That's how people ran with it. But let's be real for a second. What did he say that was wrong? The Knicks are in the NBA Finals for the first time in 27 years. Demand is through the roof. There are 19,000 seats in Madison Square Garden and millions of Knicks fans who want to be there. That's supply and demand. It is what it is. If the tickets were $200 each and you couldn't resell them, it would be the first come, first serve, right? And most real fans still wouldn't get a seat because 19,000 goes fast when millions want in. So I'm wondering what exactly people expect the president to do about ticket prices. Is he supposed to wave a magic wand and make them free? Is he supposed to set price controls on basketball tickets? It doesn't work like that. You can't fix prices and still have a functioning market. And here's what this actually looks like in real life. Back in the day, if you couldn't afford to go to the game, yeah, you could listen on the radio or catch highlights later. Today, you can watch it on a big HD TV in your living room, a watch party, right? At home, safely, with better angles than the people paying $8,000 for nosebleeds. You can thank the system we have for that. Capitalism gave you a luxury experience at home for a fraction of the cost. And it makes you wonder, are people really mad about the ticket prices or that they can't go? Because people make a way for what they want to do. And what I learned from even my own experiences is it really the economy or is it bad choices? So if anything, the ticket prices should be motivation to work harder, put yourself in a position where you can afford to go. That's the real takeaway, not blaming the president because basketball tickets cost money. That's not his job and it never was. And here's what really kills me about Stephen A. Smith. Going back to him, a lot of the media coverage, Stephen A. claimed he'll say the same thing about any president. He argued if it were Barack Obama, he'll tell him to stay home. If it were Bush or Clinton, same thing. But he didn't. He never did. Barack Obama attended NBA games for years, including finals, and Stephen A. never cracked his lips to say Obama was disrupting the mojo or jinxing the team. Never. Not once. He never went on TV and said he'll blame Obama if the Knicks lost. Never said he'll be in anybody's back pocket, like, quote unquote, right on rice over it. And the media coverage is just as selective, right? Associated Press, they ran with the thunderous booing angle. CBS, you seen Rolling Stone talked about Trump being booed during the anthem. But you guys seen Fox and Outkick pointed out that there were pockets of cheering too, and they compared it to the much more positive reception Trump got at the college football national championship earlier in his presidency this year. So the crowd wasn't all one thing. It was mixed, but you wouldn't know that from some of these headlines. That's narrative control, family. They're telling you what to think instead of showing you what happened, and they frame the story to fit the conclusion they already wrote before the game even started. And Stephen A. Smith wants to pretend he's the independent voice, this fair-minded analyst in the middle. But you know who he is. You know who he is. You know what I'm saying? We know who he is, right? When you look at it, he's broadly described as aligned with the Democratic and center-left politics. Stephen A. Smith. He can pretend all he wants that he's independent, but stuff like this exposes it every single time for most people that see him as a Democrat in center-left politics. But you would never say this about a Democratic president, basically, individuals are saying to Stephen A. Smith. And it comes off true. He would never say this, but he only said it about Trump. The rule changes depending on who wears the jersey, and everybody sees it when it comes to Stephen A. Smith, and I'm not fooled by the act, neither should you. From my perspective, the double standard is the real story here, not the basketball game. It's a story of how far people will go to pretend their bias is just common sense. Now, and I'm not here to tell you what to think, family, but here's what I think is really happening. Stephen A. fired back at Trump, challenged him to the debate you saw, said Trump was ducking him for a year. The Daily Beast covered the whole exchange, Yahoo Sports as well. But when you really think about it, this is a basketball game. It should just be a basketball game. The Spurs won 115 to 111 because Victor Wembanyama played out his mind, because the Spurs tightened up their defense, because the Knicks missed shots and messed up down the stretch, not because of mojo, not because somebody sat in the stands, not because of political vibes. The NBA even admitted they missed a foul call early in the game when Wembanyama shoved Jalen Brunson. That stuff actually matters, not who was watching from a luxury box. We reached a point in this country where a basketball game can't just be a basketball game. Everything has to be political theater. And the lesson here is simple. Don't let politicians, media personalities, or algorithms turn every shared experience into a battleground. Don't let them steal your joy because they want ratings. Life is bigger than politics. Sports are supposed to bring people together when it comes to sports, not tear them apart. And you should be able to sit in the same arena as somebody you disagree with and still cheer for the same team. That's what being a fan is about. That's what being an American is about. The average person just wants to watch the game, enjoy the moment, eat some overpriced nachos, and not have everything filtered through a partisan lens. They just want to see good basketball. That's not too much to ask. That's just being human. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications. I want to hear your perspective on this whole situation, family, because we are all just trying to make sense of this chaos together. Hit me with your thoughts, agree or disagree. I want to hear it. I read every comment, spread that peace, love, and positivity. Let the love supersede the hate, family. On that note, peace.